I've been told that people seem to think that I love to hear myself talk. And it is very true. I do love to hear myself talk. They'll never get me to admit it, but I do. I like Bellular. I've been watching him for a while. He's been pretty awesome. I'm sorry, Mr. Bellular. You're going to have to wait. I'm introducing you. Oh my god, I hate you. Please. No, it's not working. Okay, well, I guess it's staying like that. 30th of the next episode for free run? Okay, cool. Oh, no, not the 30th. I'm going to be indisposed on the 30th, and you're all going to see why in a little bit. I haven't watched Oshinoko. I've heard that it's pretty good, but I've heard that some people were a little disappointed with its, season 2, but I'm willing to give it a try. But all right, let's see what Bellular says about Highguard.
Closing out the game,
We're gonna
the
go.
internet has decided that the game closing out the Game Awards is already a failure. The game is called Highguard.
So, let's all be honest here. This came out. Let me pause my ambience. No, please. There we go. It's already come out. The internet had decided it was a failure, and it right now is looking to be a failure.
I think it's fair to say that currently it's the most death-flagged game out there. And you can see the comments about the place. It's dead on arrival. It's cooked. And since controversial
it's already DOA.
The Game Awards, it's basically been radio silence. And for some, this is just another.
So for people who don't know, if you don't watch the Game Awards, the Game Awards is, obviously one of the bigger events in gaming. Every year, and usually there are some good announcements or releases that come out on it, and you save obviously the best for last. This occupied the last slot, so this was like the highlight of the night, and oh man, people weren't happy about it.
Bit of damning evidence.
It didn't look good.
It's yet another multiplayer shooter heading out to an audience that's already sick of them. It's basically Concord 2.
Yep. Concord 2.
Critics, it basically looked like Highguard blew their entire budget on that final big spot of the Game Awards, flopped hard, then went radio silent and pretty much immediately gave up. That's the common narrative out there.
Yeah, that's one thing that they did, which was really weird. They just went completely radio silent after they announced themselves,
Kotaku, a 3-minute
which is just so weird.
Spot costs. Highguard's was 2 minutes and 37 seconds, and usually in the Game Awards, that kind of thing is money well spent. I mean, the 2025 event reached 171 million viewers. That's a hell of a lot, but obviously, it only works if people actually like what they...
Highguard doesn't seem like it's going to do too well. Well, I'll have you know, we live in a post-Highguard release world, and I can tell you for sure, it didn't do too well.
See, and when Jeff Keighley ended the show's reveals, I think audiences had high expectations. And you can really see why. Over the last few years, we closed with Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, which not everyone is hyped for, but, big new Naughty Dog game.
Right? This also looks like another game that's probably not going to do as well as they'd want it to. I'm not, sure how well it's going to do, but, obviously a lot of people weren't happy with The Last of Us Part 2, and I think there's probably going to be a lot of lingering resentment from that, especially for Naughty Dog. So we'll see how it plays. I don't think it's going to do too well.
Wilds and a release date for Final Fantasy 16.
Monster Hunter Wilds was pretty good though.
At this show, we'd already seen Divinity, Mega Man, and Fate of the Old Republic. So, I mean, if something was to close out the
yeah, no, Highguard is out. Let me real quickly. Let's see if I can. Actually, I'll do this.
Show.
Since we're already here. Highguard is out, and here is its chart. Look at how wonderful this chart is. Isn't this one of the charts of all time? It started with, a respectable 97,000 players, and over its entire first release day, it has dropped to about 20,000. My God. Oh my God, this looks awful. Yeah, I know. Oh. Oh no. No, 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 no. And it's free to play. So I want you to know that it's also got that this is free to play. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We are we're looking at a real, like, it didn't even peak at 100,000 plus, which is just like, oh my god. I don't feel bad for it. We all knew it was going to happen. I mean, even some of the Highguard devs probably knew it was going to happen. But we'll see where they land in a year. Maybe they'll turn it around. I doubt it, but maybe they will.
Surely it would be something truly special. And then we saw a trailer for another multiplayer shooter, and people started laughing.
People are tired of multiplayer shooters like this.
Fantasy meets guns aesthetic. People are sliding. There's destruction. There's hero powers.
20K on a free-to-play AAA game is too good. Is too good? Oh yeah, is too good as in it's too funny. I was gonna say, it was like, it ain't good at all, brother. No, but it is too good as like, it, like, the jokes write themselves nowadays. We don't live in a world in which comedy is written. We live in a world in which comedy is now experienced as part of the world itself.
Seems familiar, even though it's saying a new breed of shooter.
A new breed of shooter that does the same thing as everything else.
All the constituent parts. And from what we could tell, the largest difference was that you could ride horses and bears. Which
wow.
we've, all been gagging to do in our hero shooter games.
Oh yeah, I wish Overwatch would be so much better with that, right?
The game's name sounded like someone just ran Overwatch through a thesaurus. People even thought it was a weird fake game. And since then, the developer, Wildlight Entertainment, have said nothing.
Like I said, remember, this was the capstone of the night of the Game Awards.
Despite there being a release
coming
next week. So what the hell's going on with this mystery? Did they just drop $1 million on that final slot for absolutely nothing? Wildlight did not pay for that final slot.
Oh, I could bully Arkfold. I can bully him. I will bully him.
To have paid for a slot.
I'll think about doing that in the future. That definitely is something that I could do. Honestly, sorry to interrupt the video. Honestly, it'd probably be fun if we get a small community going together to do hunting parties. That would definitely be something fun.
Devs. But according to reports from journalists like Imran Khan and Paul Tassi, Keeley and his team gave Highguard the closing position. Here's the quote from Paul Tassi.
Yeah, I also heard the rumor going around is that Jeff Keighley gave the last spot at the Gamer Awards to them for free, essentially. And if that is the case, and if that is not rumor and it's true, I am going to be so monumentally upset. Like, I've been watching Jeff Keighley ever since he was on G4 TV. Not to tell you how old I am, but that could tell you how old I am. So he has been a part of my gaming life for nearly as long as I can remember. And every year, I have seen him go further and further down the path of being absolutely stupid as shit. And it makes me upset, because he used to actually have decent opinions. Honestly, you should try it. You should try out Monster Hunter if you've got a system that can handle it. It's a good game. I actually originally started playing Monster Hunter on Monster Hunter Worlds, so give it a shot if you like it. But and that one's a lot cheaper. But I went into it because a friend asked me to play it, and I went into it saying, oh, I'm gonna hate this, and I wanted to find a reason to hate it, and then I ended up loving it. So that's actually the same story for Dark Souls for me. You asked me earlier what my favorite games were. I forgot to mention the Soulsborne series, obviously. But my first experience was with Dark Souls is the whole, difficulty in game debates. And I wanted to kind of show, like, I wanted to go in proving that it didn't matter what difficulty things were on. And I came out on the other side of that saying, no, it does matter what difficulty the developer wants things to be on. And this is a perfect game and you shouldn't change it at all. So I went in wanting to hate it, came out loving it.
Showrunner Jeff Keighley just really liked...
I go into a lot of things wanting to hate it and come out loving it.
...liked the game and offered it to them. So basically, it was Keighley's editorial choice. He thought it was cool. He wanted to show a game that's coming out rather soon. instead of one that's coming out years and years away, like, I don't know, say Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet.
I mean, I'm
To
pretty
its
sure
credit, I think we
Intergalactic
all
won't
like
be
a
that
trailer
good.
with gameplay rather than purely CG, and it's one that also fit the industry story that Jeff has been trying to tell, of the independent developers basically coming from ex-AAA studios and then being able to go really hard punching above their weight.
I mean, if that were the case, if he really wanted to do that, then he would show games that like are literally single A developers, maybe like even a guy working on it in his room or something like that on the Steam outcome or upcoming list. Like there are plenty of games that are like absolute hidden gems that you could have done that with. You don't have to go with a AAA quality game if you really want to highlight independent developers. I like the newer games. Now tell you what difficulty the game is intended for. I like that games tell you that too, honestly. I'm a big stan of wanting to play it on the developer recommended difficulty on my first playthrough, mostly because it's like that's where it was intended to be played for. And I like it that they say this is what our intended difficulty is.
That's clear from both his introduction and the trailer. So, the intended selling point for Highguard basically comes down to one framing, and it's this: from the makers of Apex Legends and Titanfall. Jeff said that up front. It's 61 devs who kind of just went and made two of the best shooters of the last decade, who are now free from EA's clutches to
Titanfall got robbed.
Just make whatever the hell they want. That's the same trick that was used in the first reveal of the show for Fate of the Old Republic, which ended with...
Oh yeah, there's going to be a new Star Wars
it's just that for Highguard,
game in the same vein as KOTOR.
That pedigree just didn't give viewers enough confidence in what they were seeing. So now that we're a week from launch, why the hell has it been radio silence, and what's going on with this game? First, there's the expectation.
Well, there's the easiest answer for that one, Mr. Bellular News. Because it's going to be garbage. And they know it.
It's either been delayed for a rework or that they've just given up and are hoping to quietly drop the game somehow. But part of the silence is actually simple logistics. You see, if you're a studio doing a...
I understand that. 100%. I get it. I actually will not play BioShock on any other difficulty except for the hardest, but I always like to see what the original intent for the game was, like what they internally balanced for before I start modulating the difficulty on my end. Yeah, I think we kind of agree. We just have a different way in which we approach it from. So I totally get it. I totally get that.
Marketing
absolutely, Nova.
Player game. I think it's fair to say that 2025's last few weeks basically would have been the worst time in years, because
TF3 needs to exist. What are you talking about? Steam can't count to 3. Sorry, Valve can't count to 3.
Launch your game the week before Christmas because the holidays would just kill the momentum, which basically means the game kind of had to come out in January. Perhaps that makes sense. I mean, Hytale went for a similar strategy, and they've absolutely monopolized.
So apparently Hytale's like really good. I don't know if anybody's played it here. Like, this is going to sound weird. I've never played Minecraft in my life. I don't intend to start playing Minecraft, which, that's not a commentary on the game. That's I just never got into it, and I don't intend to play it anytime in the near future. Maybe if there's a big demand for it, but I don't intend to play it. But I know that Hytale is a really good game because people who like Minecraft really like Hytale. So if you haven't tried it out yet, it's definitely worth looking into.
A very quiet release schedule. But Highguard isn't Hypixel. It doesn't have the positive vibes. Hell, it doesn't even have the neutral vibes. People basically are...
Oh, Titanfall 3.
Already. Obviously, the reveal was meant to go better than it did. And the hostility of people's
yeah, TF3 needs to... Titanfall 3 does need to exist.
Negative territory, which basically means they have got to overcome all of that. So, think about it this way. If Wildlight had spent the last few weeks dropping...
That's absolutely fair.
...blog posts for characters...
I just know that people have been saying Hytale's really good.
Then there would have been one overriding reaction. Criticism. Where, fair or not, every ability would have been contrasted with Overwatch, Apex, or any other shooter. I mean, the original trailer was leaning into familiarity. It was meant to feel like enough of a known quantity to, well... be something you could immediately pick up and play, safe in the knowledge that it's Apex and Titanfall people, which would appear to be the strategically sound play. I mean,
I think that's probably the issue though, right? Is like they got this talent from Apex and Titanfall, and they're like, oh dude, that's gonna sell the game. But they forgot to make an actual game worth playing along the way, as evidenced by the fact that everybody's been saying it's like I think the worst praise or worst that I've heard about it is that it is boring and unengaging. And the best that I've heard about it is it would be a good game if it came out like 5 years ago. Which you don't really want that in your game.
Dreamhaven, which is a whole bunch of ex-Blizzard
so like,
people,
yeah, I haven't heard that it's absolute garbage, but I haven't heard that it's anything good either.
But if you step outside your known genre, people just may not give a shit. Of course, the problem here, though, is that no one was willing to extend them grace after the reveal.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought they were implying that the map was named Gibraltar, not the character, and I was about to look at Blizzard.
So that means a normal
yeah.
blog posts
actually, can they even copyright that? Because Gibraltar is like an actual place. They might not be able to copyright that name because it's like in the commons.
Wouldn't just have been a Sisyphean.
Although that is probably with rights, they could probably copyright it if it's exact 1-to-1 rip. But
it would have been a bit like Sisyphus pushing the boulder, just that the boulder is actually water, and it's just going to go down the hill, right? There's nothing he can do. I think it would have been completely pointless, and I think they probably know that as well, especially because there are a group of developers who have actually solved that problem before,
okay.
And all signs.
Well, that's what I was saying.
The same trick again. Let me explain. Per leaks to Insider Gaming's Tom Henderson, there's already been a marketing event for Highguard. Probably not on the same scale as...
There's already been a marketing event for Highguard.
But it allegedly did happen.
So I didn't know that there was a marketing event for that.
Because everyone involved is under embargo. And that's because Highguard can't get a mulligan on their reveal. But the plan is to make sure that the next time you see it, it is in your hands, or at least that it could be, and that you can see a bunch of streamers and press. Basically, it's the same people who did the Apex Legends Shadow Drop. And I think you could argue
I don't know about that one. I think
maybe the Game Awards was a bit of a blunder.
I think it was. They can copyright the map design, but the name maybe Watchpoint Gibraltar, but not. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It was a pure shadow drop. It's hard to say, but with the Game Awards not going well, it seems that a big day one push is basically the next best option for them.
Man,
as much as the reaction has been hostile,
what a marketing
we
fumble.
have seen new multiplayer games make it, even relatively new IP. Arc Raiders and Marvel Rivals both broke through last year and have got stable audiences.
But the difference between those two games and this game is that they're good games that people want to play. Wow, imagine how that works.
Now, obviously, not every game makes it. There's Spectre Divide and Fragpunk. Those are ones last year, which, again, were brand new IPs from indie teams with a lot of experience.
I don't know much about those games.
All of them, though, were built on the same principle.
Oh, two player. Oh, no.
But they simply did.
Oh, that is a graph. Oh, no.
We're built on the same principle. That principle was that making a good game is only part of the conversation, and that the rest is marketing. And that is a truly high mountain to climb. Let me explain here. So
probably because they ripped off Valorant, let's be honest here. They said, oh, that works, we might as well do that too. Unfortunately, they don't have the same budget as Riot. But it's just like, oh man. They say that marketing is more important or just as important as having a good game. I don't think that's true at all. Like, you just need to have a game that people want to play.
There's a recent study from
the marketing will do itself.
Site, and it showed that players need to see, get this, 141 hours worth of coverage before they'll buy a premium game. I've got to be honest with you. That seems absolutely mad to me.
That's insane.
I don't think that's ever fit me buying a game.
I needed to see maybe 5 minutes of Dark Souls to have decided to play it.
Before, though I can see the number making sense if we're talking not just about watch time. It could just be seeing trailers, being reminded of them, seeing reveals, conversations, even memes, community stuff.
I mean, you know, let's take this from another angle that might be interesting. They might be correct about that if they're trying to sell you a dog shit product. It's true unless you have an absolute 10 out of 10 game. As in, like, it's true that you need to spend... No, rather, you need to have just as much marketing as having a fun game. I mean, I'm going to anecdotally disagree with you based on the way that Dark Souls was marketed, right? And Demon Souls. They only went up in the people that played it with very little amounts of marketing because they had a great game. And it was people who played it who said, no, you need to play this game. I think that it's true if you have like, a game that's like around like an 8, a 7 out of 10, where it's got fun moments. Like Helldivers is another good example of it, right? They had a 10 out of 10 game and didn't really do that much marketing, and it just went to the moon. Now you can talk about, to the cows come home about whether or not they've mismanaged that. That's a completely different topic. But the original burst of enthusiasm for Helldivers was organic through the player base. People saw like 10, 15, maybe even like an hour of play for it and said, yeah, that's the game for me. I'm going to go try it. So I don't think that they need like 141 hours.
According to them, that's only down to an average of 111 hours.
At least that's my anecdotal experience.
Is often only 2.07% of the total addressed market. Obviously, for premium games, it's even lower. And that means that to break through to you, the player...
I'm wondering if they're conflating how much time people need for free-to-play games to put money into it. Well, they said premium games, right? So at least that's what I heard earlier. And again, I think people already know if they're going to buy a premium game or not. Generally speaking, I think the opinion of other people playing it is probably a lot more important rather than people getting super exposed to it. Maybe.
Devs have got to spend
Maybe
millions trying to get into your head. But that won't be enough for a multiplayer game like Highguard, the type of game that really does need a network effect to actually take off. I mean, playing the multiplayer
I don't know. I think,
makes sense of lots of...
Again, I think like Warframe's a good counterexample of that, right? Like, I don't think they've really had that much marketing until later on in the game's life cycle. But like, was that a premium or free-to-play game? Because I feel like that was free-to-play, and people would spread it to other people to play without them necessarily needing to market. So I don't know how much it's true that you need to see 141 hours of a game in order to convince somebody to play it. I think you need to have a different approach from it.
Other people are doing it, and eventually you all get a ball rolling and you feel like you're part of the new thing. So the plan now appears to be, for this game anyway, a large barrage of information just before launch, right when there are as few barriers to entry as is humanly possible, so that they can capture as many people as possible.
Right, and we can see exactly how well that worked out for them.
Essentially, they're doing a very different rollout to the one that we saw with Concord. Maybe they're thinking that with Concord, all of the marketing that was pretending that Concord was already a massive super hype franchise, probably just made them look like they thought they were too big to fail, which obviously will have turned audiences against them.
Man, so this was such a forced error. What a game.
Trying to avoid. If the game's amazing, things could change. And right now, the only people who kind of know are under.
Well, game is not amazing.
Fargo. Now, there is a vibe out there from some commentators that Highguard almost deserves to fail.
Sure, it is, but I mean, I think free-to-play games also convince people to play through the same word of mouth as regular games or premium games. I think that if you have a good game, you have a good game and people talk about it. I don't think any amount of overexposure to the gameplay is going to change somebody's mind. Just because I don't think people do that. I don't do it. I judge everything by its cover.
Though some of the frustration is understandable. It's the idea that it's taking...
I don't think I'm much different than anybody else.
Developers from other potential games whilst giving people what? Just another free-to-play shooter. I'm sure a lot of people would rather these people worked on something else. I do get that. And look, Highguard could be a total shit show, or it could be the next game from the people who made Apex Legends and Titanfall. It could be an incredible game
both.
That looks a little bit bland before you play it. That's equally possible. Who knows, maybe the Expedition 33 of multiplayer shooters. Because fundamentally, this is the situation that we're actually in. This is not a AAA developer trying to pivot towards a multiplayer game because they are chasing that big money high.
I do think that a lot of, I guess, the disdain or distaste for this game is coming from preconceived notions about it. Like I said, I think people judge books by their cover more often than they'd like to admit. And I think this book has already been judged by its cover quite heftily.
Which is essentially what Sony were doing.
So I think it's the same thing that most, I think it's the same thing that a lot of games kind of go under, at least a lot of big ticket games. I think it's, people already have their opinions about it and they're probably not going to change. Oh, absolutely. I was mostly addressing that I don't think that 142 hours is accurate for premium at all and would be more accurate for FTP models. I mean, yeah, I think that exposure to gameplay is definitely part of the marketing strategy 100%, especially for free to play games because that's really all they got. But I don't think 142 hours is nearly what you would need to convince somebody. I think maybe an order of magnitude lower, like maybe 14 and a half hours would be enough to get people to think about playing your game. Because like most people, when they see other people having fun, as long as they look like they're also going to have fun, they're like, yeah, I'll try it out, especially if it's free. I don't know. I just think that 142 hours is a bit excessive.
Build something that they want to play.
And nearly unattainable, honestly.
Or a single-player narrative RPG. No, these people make shooters, so of course they're going to go and try to make a shooter. And if they succeed, well, they're in a tradition with Arc Raiders.
Yeah.
If they fail, well, that's
they're not beating Arc Raiders.
This specific game. One indie studio failing won't convince the industry to stop trying to make these.
Definitely 142 hours for FTP rather than premium. I only have over 142 hours in a couple of premium games, and I'd recommend one of them over the ones I have 10 in. None of them over the ones I have 10 in. Yeah, like, because again, when they're talking about exposure, though, they're not talking about somebody playing 142 hours, at least as far as I am conceptualizing it. They're talking about you being exposed to 142 hours through content creators, advertisements, basically like Raid Shadow Legends, right? You have had more than 142 hours of exposure of Raid Shadow Legends over your lifetime, I guarantee it. Have you decided that you wanted to play Raid Shadow Legends? I mean, it would be really funny if you say, I already play Raid Shadow Legends, but most people would say, no, I'm not going to play Raid Shadow Legends. And like, it's a free-to-play game. They barely get, I would say, a conversion on it, but they have such the exposure and such the ability to expose themselves to many people that it doesn't matter at that point. But I don't think 142 hours is going to convince somebody to play the game if they don't already want to play it. Exactly.
Games. And I'm sure,
I mean, people probably have made the decision to play the game, not even by trying it for an hour, but by only seeing an hour's worth of content surrounding it.
Game, with another developer desperately trying to reach the small part of the audience that may actually care about the thing that they are making. But I suppose I could say this. In a world where the likes of Arc Raiders are kicking off and offering major competition to some of the big AAA incumbents, well, you know what? Actually, that's good. I think that's the likes of Call of Duty.
It's very good that Arc Raiders is doing really well.
Disrupted, well, the more vibrant the FPS space could actually be.
So yeah, maybe we'll actually start getting good games again.
Hope that they succeed. If there's another game,
I'm never gonna play Raid. Nothing puts me off more than massive advertising campaigns.
Nightmare.
I feel that. I do feel that.
Yes, I understand the eye rolls, but
there's no premium games I need that much exposure for it to sell me. I either know the franchise or I dedicated the end of maybe 30 minutes of gameplay video.
Something that I think most of us are already fairly frustrated with.
I needed that much. Yeah, true.
No matter what.
But that's, again,
happens. But until then, I think you should watch this next because, well, no matter what games you're playing, I really hope you're able to build a good PC.
Thank you, Bellular. But I definitely think that most people have already decided to buy a game when they've, decided to buy a game or decided to download a game when they've decided to download a game. And the indie revolution is coming, I hope. So I don't want to be a downer. I'm not going to be a downer. Let me turn this on. But I don't think the indie revolution is going to come as a straight revolution in the sense that everybody's going to be playing indie games. I think indie games are probably going to just have as much exposure as they continue to have right now, because a lot of people don't really like, or rather don't really gravitate towards the experiences that indie games give. Like kind of like the 1 to 2 hour, very hyper focused experience that an indie game can give to somebody, which is fine. I'm totally okay with that, because indie games aren't games that I would consider to be for the lay consumer. I think indie games are mostly for people who, like, they're games made for people in the industry and games made for people who are hyper enthusiasts or hyper hobbyists. And they make the game space better, because they allow a ground for experimentation for things that might not necessarily fly in AAA studios. The indie revolution is going to look like AAA is just not selling anymore. That's going to be the indie revolution. It's not that indies are going to become more popular. It's that AAA and gaming as a whole is going to hit a massive recession, which, you know, for what it is, can be good, can be bad. But I don't think indie games are going to be nearly as popular as a AAA game, or, you know, near it, unless you're in hyper-specific groups, like gamer groups that are focused by it. Unless they're counting the hundreds of hours in a previous entry of the franchise as part of the exposure, which would be weird. I don't think they do count that, because I think they were strictly saying about being exposed to the product. It's one of those, you know, consume the product type of mentalities, I think. Yeah, I could totally see someone in marketing doing that too. Like, this is just a marketing. This is like, in my opinion, this is a marketing statement that is completely divorced from the entirety or the reality of the world. And, you know, for what it is, marketers probably don't play the games that they're trying to sell anyway. And that, you know, that's another benefit of being an indie game creator or indie game studio, where, you know, 6-1, you're also probably working on the game if you're the marketer for it. So at least you have a good idea of what the indie game is about.